My Hero Academia seems to be approaching its final chapter, so I'm going to throw out a few last little tricks before this series officially ends, and also to summarize the unique power system that has run throughout the entire My Hero Academia universe, the Quirk. So now, let's move on to the Quirk ranking video for the series. Because there are too many characters, in this clip I'll only rank the quirks of the villains who have appeared in the previous arcs. Please note that only the major villains, or those who have clearly demonstrated their power, will have enough basis for ranking. The small fry and insignificant background characters won't appear on this list. And of course, characters from movie-only stories or those who never appeared in the manga also won't be ranked, even if they are strong but don't possess a quirk. The ranking criteria are based on overall strength, 1v1 combat ability, and performance in group battles. Naturally, this also includes how effectively their quirk is used. It isn't evaluated separately. The ranking system will be divided as follows. S tier. Characters in this tier are always highly regarded and usually play key roles in every major battle. Their abilities, combined with their quirk, are strong enough to completely turn the tide of a fight if used at the right moment. A dash tier. Overall, characters in this tier are still capable of fighting well and making an impact in battle, but due to the presence of S tier characters, they fall just below that level. D tier. These individuals and their quirks possess decent combat ability and can hold their own, but they will struggle in facing stronger opponents. Their contribution to battles is minor or not particularly noteworthy. C tier. Weaker than the average, only suitable for running around doing minor tasks or making small impacts. However, they can still be useful when fighting as part of a team. D tier. The bottom of the barrel, on the same level as trash fans or move fans, their presence barely matters. They contribute nothing in battle and are usually the first to die. After agreeing on the ranking system and the criteria for evaluating strength, let's begin with the quirks and characters from the villain faction. The first one is the hero killer, Stain. His quirk allows him to instantly immobilize anyone whose blood he licks. However, the duration of the paralysis depends on the victim's blood type as well as their overall strength. In addition to that, he possesses impressive close combat ability. His physical strength, endurance, agility, and flexibility are nothing to underestimate. He was strong enough to take on Shoto, Deku, and Ida at the same time. In the final battle, he once again proved his worth by holding back All for One after licking his blood. Of course, Stain eventually died afterward. With everything he has shown, his quirk naturally lands in the A tier, as it is nearly unbeatable in 1v1 fights and extremely useful in team battles thanks to its almost uncounterable immobilization except in cases like blood replacement, as demonstrated by All for One. Dabi naturally belongs in the A+ tier thanks to his enormous heat output and his ability to control blue flames with extremely high temperatures. His flames are ranked an entire level above those of Endeavor, the second strongest pro hero in the series. However, Dabi's body has very low fire resistance, as he inherited his mother's resistance to freezing temperatures instead of his father's high heat tolerance. Because of this, he gets burned when using his flames for too long. This becomes extremely dangerous if he pushes his temperature to the maximum. After being defeated in his second battle against Shoto, the power of his blue flame surged dramatically, causing it to manifest frost, a trait from his mother's quirk, within the flames themselves. This power-up is described as something different from a quirk awakening, a burst of energy that emerges when he is close to death, helping him survive the severe burns. Naturally, with this power, he overwhelms almost any matchup, whether in solo combat or team battles, thanks to the massive damage and area coverage of his blue flames. However, the fatal weakness of his quirk lies within himself. He cannot withstand extremely high temperatures. Therefore, he can only be placed in the A+ tier. If not for this weakness, he would undoubtedly earn a position in the S tier. The only one who belongs in the S tier is none other than Tomura. In addition to his near immortality and almost limitless regeneration, he possesses countless quirks granted by All for One. With the ability to disintegrate anything he touches, he also wields All for One itself, allowing him to absorb any quirk he desires. Tomura also inherited Ragdoll's former ability, which lets him observe up to 100 individuals at the same time. He can detect them from afar and even see through obstacles blocking his view. This quirk also enables him to identify their weaknesses. He further enhances his damage output with heavy payload and can split bullets into multiple projectiles using scatter, allowing them to spread across the battlefield. He can tighten and coil his muscles to boost his physical power and launch himself into the air, and he possesses the danger-sensing ability he stole from the fourth user. With this overwhelming arsenal, along with many other abilities I'm too lazy to list, this guy is unquestionably the champion of any solo fight. When evaluated in team battles, he becomes the ultimate final boss, capable of sweeping any battlefield he steps onto. In other words, he is the only S-tier character, and the strongest of them all. The mutant Machia, with 7 abilities within his body, is quite difficult to categorize and rank. These abilities include converting mental energy into physical strength and endurance, the ability to feel no pain, the ability to grow into a gigantic form proportional to his level of agitation, canine-like hearing and smell, extremely low energy consumption, meaning he eats and sleeps very little, the ability to make his muscles incredibly tough, and the ability to grow horn-like structures on his arms and back, along with a VIP mask on his mouth. With all of these abilities, he put on an impressive performance when he joined forces with the heroes to fight All for One. His destructive power was truly terrifying in battle. He was able to go head-to-head with a giant hero like Mount Lady, and still had enough strength to continue rampaging afterward. Because of this, he's extremely powerful in solo combat thanks to his size adjustment ability. In team fights, he always acts as a heavy tank, capable of charging into any position. On top of that, he has shown that he can withstand Momo's anesthetic and is unaffected by Shinso's mind control ability. Clearly, he would be ranked in Tier A. I would place Kurogiri in Tier C, because his main power is simply creating warp gates that provide excellent support for his team. While he's pretty weak in solo combat, barely able to take down anyone, his quirk becomes extremely powerful in large-scale battles, as he can transport anyone to any position on the field. This was shown clearly in the final battle, where he was the key factor that disrupted the hero's divide-and-conquer strategy. Next is Duran's quirk, which gives him the ability to induce mild memory loss in his target by making contact with their head. This causes their memories to revert to 5 minutes earlier, while the next 5 minutes become blurry. Although this memory erasing ability provides him with a tremendous advantage in any battle, whether solo or team-based, the activation requirement is far too difficult. Therefore, even though I rate this ability very highly, I can only place it in Tier B. If the memory wiping effect could be activated more freely, it would definitely belong in Tier A. Muscular is the next character to be ranked. Naturally, just from his name, you can tell he's a mutant-type character with terrifying close combat abilities. His quirk is clear proof of that. It allows him to amplify his muscles to an extreme degree, to the point where they tear apart. With that massive muscle mass, he demonstrated frightening power when he nearly defeated Deku during the training camp incident. However, this ability doesn't stand out much compared to many other characters. In fact, he's somewhat outclassed since many others possess far more versatile and flashy abilities. Therefore, Tier B is a reasonable placement for him. He's incredibly strong in solo combat, but in team battles, he mainly serves as a very effective damage magnet. All the Nomu will be grouped into a single tier because their abilities are fairly similar, even though a few individuals can fly and possess somewhat diverse powers. Their combat capability reaches Tier A, as they can easily take on powerful heroes like Mirko or Crust, as well as cause massive destruction during the villain's raid on UA, where they even fall on equal footing with a Transform the Clock. However, overall, Nomu are generally quite done when only attack under their master's command. In solo situations, they can overpower a few opponents thanks to their secondary Quake-type quirk and their exceptional regeneration. In team battles, they serve as effective disruptive monsters for the villains. But in the end, they are placed in Tier B because they are rather stupid and easy to manipulate. Moonfish possesses a quirk that allows him to manipulate his teeth into blade-like weapons for attacking, which sounds terrifying at first. However, in reality, he is pathetically weak due to his movement being restricted by a ridiculous restraining suit. He fights as a long-range attacker, so once someone gets close to him, the fight is practically over. Even so, he has shown some capability by causing significant trouble for several heroes. However, in real combat situations, his ability isn't particularly strong, and he rightfully belongs in Tier D. This is the end of Part 1. Please like and subscribe so the channel can release Part 2 soon.